Hi guys, very welcome to a Friday night spontaneous live. I hope you're all doing fantastic. First of all, as always, I would like to see if you guys can hear me. So anyone who's out there, I see Jeet Davis there. I see Sin, Mysterioid, loads of you guys coming in. Fantastic. Can you all hear me? And can you see me? Hi, Daniel. Hi, Visa. Hi, George. It's all great to have you here. Anyway, I hope you can all see me and hear me. If anything happens to the stream, it's probably due to my internet as always. So, we'll just keep going as long as this works. How are you all doing out there? I hope you're doing fantastic. I am myself is really happy because I am have just started to fly again, which is making me happy. I did four sectors yesterday. Quite tricky weather. Flew to Eindhoven yesterday and it was gusting 30, well, almost 45 knots crosswind. So yeah, it was a wake up call from getting back, yeah, from not having flown for about 3 months. Right, guys. So, guys, if you have any questions, just fire them off, and we'll do as always. I will sit here drinking my coffee and try to answer the questions that you might have, and we'll see what the first question is. Well, Finn, so you ask about my airline, and like I always tell people, me and my airline have an understanding, which is that I won't be talking about my airline on here because I'm not a spokesperson for that airline. I'm a spokesperson for myself, and I represent only myself, which means that I will not talk about my airline. It is not easy, sorry, it's not hard to find out who I work for, but I won't be speaking about it here today. Omari, hi from Caribbean. Great. I guess you guys have better weather than we do at the moment. And Jakob, I know beer is better than coffee, but to be perfectly honest, at this time of night, especially if I'm going to do a live stream, even though it might be very entertaining to have me drinking beer, I'm just going to stick to my coffee here. Arthur, why I wasn't flying? Well, this is the case. So the base that I work at, which is up in northern Spain, in Girona, is a very seasonal base, which means that during the summer we fly a lot. We have 6 aircraft based here, and during the winter there's not too many people who wants to go to Costa Brava because it's actually winter here. So they downsize our base from 6 to 1 aircraft. So there's not much flying to be done. And since I'm a type rating examiner and instructor, my time is better used in the simulator doing recurrent checks on people. So I have been doing non-stop instructional duties since December, and yesterday I had my first flight in 3 months, which was great. And Tian Franken, how do you feel when you're watching air crash investigations? Well, um, being a professional airline pilot and watching air crash investigations is sad, but also very interesting because you definitely understand why these things can happen. You can put yourself in the position of the of the guys, of the unlucky guys that that were flying the planes, and I watch it from a learning perspective. So I want to see what happened in order to understand it, in order to possibly prevent it from happening to me or for any of my colleagues. So that's the way that I watch air crash investigations. Adam, Tarek, how's your family? They're great, man. They're fantastic. Both my boys have been in school today. We have the weekend now where we're gonna chill out and have some fun family time. Sin, do you fly with the same crew members? No, they tend to rotate, but what tends to happen is that if you are on the same roster pattern as some of the first officers, you tend to end up flying with similar first officers, kind of the same first officers, especially if you're in a small base. But it's not like you are paired up together with one first officer and you fly together all the time. No, that's not the case. If you fly from a big base with a lot of pilots, you might actually almost never fly with the same person. Andro Pro, how long can you go without flying? Well, you can go up to 90 days, but you need 3 takeoffs and landings every 90 days, which is what I had to do, which is why I had to fly yesterday. Most airlines have rules that says that if you go more than maybe 30 or 45 days, you need to fly with a line training captain, which is what I had to do. So I was actually flying with another captain yesterday, another line training captain, to make sure that everything was up to scratch. Dan Hermans, did it take long to get started with the company? Yeah, well, in my case, I actually finished my training and got straight into an interview and straight into an airline. So I was very lucky. Once I got accepted, it took about 2 months to do the type rating, and then it took another 2 months approximately to do the line training before I was done with the training. And also, there's always a little bit of waiting in between all the different steps. So you can count about half a year from when you get hired until you are out flying on the line. Mike, aviation, how many hours can you legally fly in a year? Yeah, so this is flight time limitations, guys. And these are the same within EASA. They might vary a little bit between different, like FAA and EASA might have slightly different, but they should be fairly similar. So you can fly 900 block hours per year, and that's a rolling year, okay? And on top of that, you can only fly a maximum of 100 hours every 28 days. And you can only fly a maximum of 13 hours on each working day unless you are using captain's discretion or extended duty, which you can do as well. So 900 hours is the limiting one, and also if you're flying in a very seasonal company, you might be limited by the 100 hours, continuously rolling every month as well. Ludde, Kudde, please do a video with Captain Joe. You never know. You never know what might be on the horizon. I'm also going to tell you guys that I haven't been releasing the videos that I have in the pipeline. They are already done and they're waiting. And the reason that I'm waiting with them is because I am still waiting for Apple to release my app. They actually they reviewed my app, and they had some issues with some of the stuff inside of the app, so we've had to redo that, and that's why we have a delay. And until my app is completely out on both the iOS and the Android App Store, I am waiting with videos that are connected to these apps. So there are loads of videos coming. I'm going to release a few Mentor Cadets videos coming up very soon as well. Because there's really exciting stuff that's happening to the cadets. But I'm really, really hoping that Apple will release my app within a few days or so. Tank797, cheers from the Netherlands. Well, cheers from Spain. I hope you're doing fantastic. So, Jacob Lewis, hi Mentor, do pilots suffer with the sickness type feeling during takeoff and landing? If so, how do you cope with it? If you're referring to air sickness, we tend not to. What tends to happen is that in the beginning, when you do your training, you might get some air sickness. All right, it's perfectly normal, and it has to do with the fact that you're not trained to look at the horizon. But people who's flying in the first couple of times, they tend to be sitting and looking down. And when you're looking down, you're not focusing on anything really. You're just looking at different buildings and stuff like that. And your body is continuously moving, and when your brain is not focusing on something while it's feeling that it's moving, that's when you get this sickness, okay, the air sickness. That tends to disappear after a while when you start your training, and I never feel it. Okay, now when I'm flying, I never feel it. The ear thing, I'll get a lot of questions about how we deal with ear pain. And that's also something that you kind of get used to. You get used to being able to do like that and equalize the pressure between the inner ear and your throat. And when you have a cold and the tubes are blocked, then you just cannot fly. It's as easy as that. Because if you cannot equalize the pressure, you can blow your eardrums, and that's going to have you not flying for at least 4 or 5 months, and you cannot have that. So if you're sick, if you have a cold, you just don't fly, basically. UFO pilot Tim, did you ever fly to or from Bournemouth Airport? Yeah, I have done that a few times actually. I love flying to that airport. It's fun. It's always loads and loads of VFR traffic around there, so it makes it a bit interesting. Dimitri K, what is the perfect pilot? There is no such thing. All right, there's no such thing. All of us can strive to become better and better, but we all have weaknesses. There's no such thing as a perfect pilot. But I would say that a good pilot is humble, respectful, knowledgeable. You need to know your stuff. You need to respect your other crew members. You need to be able to communicate well. And if you have all of those things, then you're at least on, on your way to becoming a good pilot. But perfect pilots doesn't exist. Concurs, why did you move to Spain and how did it feel in the beginning? I moved to Spain for one very big reason. For a couple of big reasons. A, my wife is from Spain, okay, which means that we have her family around here that can help us with the kids. And B, there was an opportunity. There was an opportunity to get a job that I wanted, a training management job that existed here. So I applied for it and I managed to get it. So kind of all good things happened at once. So now we're here and we're really happy, really happy. This place, Catalonia, is a fantastic place to live in, as in really, really awesome. Uri, love your beard. Thanks. Yeah, I had about 3 weeks of annual leave, so I'm letting it grow, and I'm trying that on. Nice to see that you noticed. We'll see how long I'll keep it. But for now, it feels good. Colin Mina, hi Mentor, what's your favorite aircraft to fly? Well, I basically only fly the 737, so that I would say is my favorite aircraft to fly. I did really like to fly the Cessna 340 that I did my multi-engine training on. That was a fantastic aircraft, and the small Cessnas. I love flying the small Cessnas. The Cessna 152. You can come in. It's almost like you're dressing yourself for the aircraft. That's how small it is, and you come in and you can land really short. You can basically stop on the letters on the runway. Fantastic aircraft to fly as well, especially for training duties. Ava Mendes, good to see you. Good to see you. I see you on Twitter and stuff, but I haven't seen you here. So in my car driving to Daytona, listening to the podcasts. Blessings from KMCO. Thank you very much. Blessings back to you. Danny Marco, hi Cap, salute from Bulgaria. Don't have a particular question, just want to ask you how your evening is. My evening has been great so far. I have been, basically the whole day today, I have been cleaning because we're doing stuff out in the garden and I've been cleaning up because it's a mess. So my back was really sore, so I sat down together with my kids and we watched the Smurf movie because I really like it. So I've just been doing that. My kids are in bed. My wife is in bed as well. So I have some time to do this with you guys. Sub-Zero. Let's see. Why is the 380 not selling, and why does it only have two hydraulic systems? Well, why it only has two hydraulic systems? First of all, I am not familiar with the 380 system, so I cannot answer that question. However, why it's not selling? Um, it's very hard to predict the airline industry. Okay, when you build a new aircraft, you have to predict what's going to happen in about 15 to 20 years when your aircraft will be released, because that's how long it takes to actually build a brand new aircraft. Okay, Airbus was betting on the fact that in now, when they're starting to sell the 380, the fuel price would be a big issue. So airlines would be more interested in bigger aircraft where you could fit a lot of people in at the same time, and also that the hubs, that there would be more hub flying, so you would fly from one hub with loads of people to another one. Now, what has happened in the meantime is that it turned out that from an economy point of view, first of all, the oil price did not rise as high. It actually has gone down quite a bit. And then on top of that, it turns out that the more flexible type, so like the 787, the 777, the Airbus 350 are more versatile. You can go to more places and you can carry, a little bit less people, but still a lot of people in them. So they have turned out to be much more popular than the 380, which is a bit more niched. And, that is one of the reasons why it's not selling as good as it could. Leon Biggs, can you become rich by becoming a pilot? Well, I put it like this: it's depending on how you define rich. Okay, I've been answering this question before, and you can just working as a pilot, you will not become rich, as in Richard Branson rich, as in multimillionaire. No, that's not the case. You can have a very, very good lifestyle. You earn quite a lot of money, which means that you can buy good, nice cars, you can live in nice houses, you can feed your family in a good way. But becoming filthy, like luxury yacht, going to your job with a helicopter rich, you will not become. Unless you use the money that you earn to invest it into something else. A lot of pilots have been doing that throughout the years, investing in property, for example, or in the stock market, or something like that, or starting up their own company, like I am. And that can make you rich in the far end, as with any good investment, because you will have money to spare to invest into things. But only working as a pilot day to day will give you a really good lifestyle, but it will not make you rich. I hope that answers your question. So, how do Andreas Borg? How do you feel about the diabetic pilots in Canada and in the UK? Actually, I think it's a really, really good development. For those of you who doesn't know it, the UK and Ireland and apparently also Canada are starting to allow pilots who has who has become diabetic during their career continue to fly, providing that they follow a very strict scheme of checking their blood sugar levels and, obviously work out and eat correctly and so on. They can continue to fly. You cannot become a pilot, as in you cannot get your class 1 medical if you are diabetic to start with. But these are for people who have, like me, for example, if I would, I got my class 1 medical and then all of a sudden I would develop diabetes, then there is a possibility to continue to fly providing that you follow these strict regimes. And I think that is fantastic. And I also like the fact that they are looking into the reality of things, because the reality now is that if you do monitor your blood sugar levels, you can fly very safely. And I applaud the UK and the Irish authorities for having allowed that. Mo Nim, do you have any plan to help newly hired pilots? Actually, this all depends on how big this channel becomes, and financially what I can do. I would love to be able to be a force to be reckoned with and help out to find new employment opportunities or to vet out good schools and stuff like that. If that's a possibility, I would love to do that. At the moment, that's not reality. At the moment, I'm just me sitting here telling you guys what I think about things. Let's see. Just gonna move this over, guys, a little bit. So, Daniel Sims, hi mentor. My CFI isn't pursuing a job with an airline even though he wants to and he has the hours, because he says he won't be making enough money as an FO. I hope I don't get into that position. Yeah, well, it's depending on where you're working. Traditionally, for example, it's been quite hard to get good money as a first officer in the regional airlines in the United States, for example. But also, the older you become, let's say, for example, like your CFI, if he or she has managed to get a nice position within the flight school and has started to earn good money doing so, and he has a family and a house or something, and he's kind of gotten himself into a good life there, well, then maybe he or she is not that really interested in having to move away and lower the salaries and stuff. This is why when people ask me if you can become a pilot when you're older, I always say, of course you can, but you have to be aware that that you might become less flexible as you get older and your family becomes an issue, and so on. So it is harder to make these really big life changes, financial and social, when you get older, and that would be the major obstacle, I would say. So if you don't want that to become an issue, you don't let it become an issue, but it is a reality for some people. I mean, Al-Safi, is the 747 dead? No. I think it has many good years still to come. I know. I mean, Boeing has been updating it fairly recently, so I think that the Queen of the Skies is here for a good long time yet. Danny Marco, what do you think about Baltic Aviation Academy? I don't know about them that much, and as always, if I don't know any details about them, I'm not going to say that they're either good or bad before I have a thorough look into them. Mentor, do you like football? So, if so, what's your team? Well, I played football for about 9 or 10 years, if by football you mean soccer. Um, I love that, but I'm not really into the leagues. As in, I follow the national games. Obviously, I'm Swedish, so my favorite team is Swedish. But down here, I follow La Liga a little bit, and Barcelona obviously is my favorite team down here. Ramon Tudor, would you pick another career? At the moment, no. No. The only thing I would love to do is pursue what I'm doing here with you guys, and see how far I can push this YouTube slash app thing that I'm doing. But I'm planning to do that as a parallel business to what I'm doing, because what I am is an airline pilot. So, and I'm going to continue to do that for as long as I can, and my body allows me. Alex Singh, hey mentor pilot, love the videos. If you fly the 737, why is an Intra 777? Why this pick Boeing over Airbus? Well, nice, nicely spotted. My intro has a 777 for a simple reason, and that's because that's the 3D model that was available when we made the intro. There was no 737 available, otherwise there would be a 737 on there. Why would you pick Boeing over Airbus? No particular reason. I fly Boeing because my airline flies Boeing. I would fly an Airbus if my airline told me that I needed to fly an Airbus. They're both fantastic manufacturers. They do safe aircraft. They have slightly different philosophies. But I would love to try Airbus as well, which I keep saying on almost every one of these live streams. Jacob Lewis, if a pilot is assigned a base, can the airline change that base at any time depending on demand in that area? Theoretically, that depends on your contract. So there are loads of different contracts out there. Most airlines have it in the contract that they have the possibility to change the base if so needed. But my experience is that no, they won't. They will only change you and your base if it's absolutely needed. Like, for example, if a base is downsizing and you have to move out, and what they tend to do then is they tend to give you more or less the choice of base that you want. So to make sure that you're happy, because they want happy pilots. Right, more questions, and thank you to Jake. Jake, if you have any questions on the super chat, which is available, then please tell me so. I'll look out for your questions down there. Super chat is something new that YouTube has started, by the way, where you can pay to ask your questions. And I'm not asking for that. I'm going to answer all of the questions I can see, but your question will be featured if you do so. Leon Biggs, you're my greatest inspiration. Well, that's great to hear. I love to be an inspiration to people, and I hope that you follow my guidelines of continue to be positive and constructive, you as well, because you will not believe how quickly it will go until you sit there as an airline captain. Actually, I remember vividly when I was about 15 years old, I jump seated with an SAS crew from Stockholm up to Sundsvall, where I'm from. And I was sitting on the jump seat, and they looked back at me and they said, "You won't believe it, kid. It'll go very quick before you sit here." And they were so right. And I'm saying the same thing to you guys. You won't believe how quickly you will become captains. And what I want to try to achieve is for you guys to remember me by the way that I am trying to do things, in a supportive way, so that when you fly with first officers, you guys will help them and tell them, give them the benefit of your knowledge. Mike Thompsons, I'm curious about Maria. Is she okay? Yes, she's okay. She's in the States flying. You will be seeing more videos from her when she's back from the States. Giulio Berti, is it bad to be a contractor? No, it's not bad. Actually, that's most people don't have a choice about that anymore. You can either join an airline as a contractor or not. Contractor basically just means that you're self-employed, and you have to make sure that you keep track of your taxes and pay all your social fees and things like that. But it's absolutely not bad. Actually, it can be very good. There's quite a few of my colleagues that have gone from permanent contracts to becoming a contractor because it's a little bit more flexible and things like that. I myself prefer to be hired by the airline because it gives a little bit of security. More questions. There's so many questions here. Do you recommend doing flight training to the Air Corps? That depends on what you mean by flight training. I presume that you mean going to their training days and stuff like that. And if that's the case, absolutely. I do not recommend people to go through the Air Force to become airline pilots if that's your primary goal, because you should want to become a military pilot before you do that. You know, you should be wanting to serve your country and realize that you're going to be subjected to a certain amount of risk. I don't think that it's the best way of doing it if you want to become just a commercial pilot. Thank you, Bob Ross. That's nice to hear. Jambo, evening sir. What's the best action for a fresh CPL to better his chances of joining an airline like MCC? Right. You need to do an MCC at a good place. Okay, I don't want you to have spent all that money doing your initial training, getting your licenses, to then do the cheapest possible MCC course, because the MCC is crucial for you to go through an airline assessment. So make sure that the MCC course you're doing is done by a good school. It doesn't have to be the most expensive school. It normally is not the cheapest school. Try to get it done on a type that you might have some kind of use for, like a 737, for example, or an Airbus or something like that. So make sure that you get the most out of your MCC course. That's the advice I would give you, because you will need it. You need to know how to work properly and do checklists properly in a multi-crew environment. Rob Ross, now since we need to do tjänstgöring in Sweden, I guess it's easy to become a military pilot. I don't care who I will work for, it's just the plane I will work for. Yeah, so Sweden has just started mandatory military service again. We didn't have it for many years, and now it started again. I think it's a good thing. I don't think that will necessarily help you become a military pilot, because you tend to need to do a lot of things in order to become a military pilot, out of which militärtjänstgöring is one of them. And once again, doing this through the military just to become a commercial pilot, you remember that you will probably be bonded for 5 to 10 years in the military before you can go on to become a commercial pilot after that. Right, cool. Right, guys, more questions. Let's see. Max Yermsley, is it very expensive to get into pilot school, and what steps do you recommend to pay it off? It is quite expensive to go into pilot school, and it will cost you about between 50 to 100,000 euros to pay it off. Well, you are going to either get a job as a pilot, or you will, you'll have to get a normal job, and you'll have to pay it off like that. This is what most modular pilots do. They work meanwhile as they're training, and they pay off as they go. Special Mango, I see that you have gone in here on the super chat. Great. If you are dyslexic, can you still be a pilot? Yes, you can. However, this depends on your level of dyslexia, and this is actually something that I have been speaking about before. Let's say that you're going in through an integrated course. The integrated course is done over a period of about 1.5 to 2 years, out of which the ATPL theory is normally done beginning of the training, and it's fairly compressed. Okay, there's a lot of information that needs to be processed and understood in a fairly short time, and the school will not allow any difference in learning speed, as so to say. They will give you basically what you normally need in time wise. So that might be a problem if you're heavily dyslexic, because you are going to have to condense all of this information in the same time as all of the others are. However, like I said, it depends on what level you are. If you just have a little bit of hard time learning, then you are just going to have to commit yourself that much more, and you can get through it You know, like I've said many times, you can do much more than you believe is possible. Okay, so I would say that it's probably hard, but it is doable. Emil Forsberg, thank you very much. Tell me if you have any questions. They will pop up in the super chat and I will see them immediately. More questions. So, let's see. Give us a day in the life of a pilot from Albert. Listen, this is by far the thing that I would like to do most. Okay, I would love to have my camera guy with me on a flight and just take you from when I get up in the morning to when I get to the crew room to when I brief the crew to when I check the paperwork to when we go out to when we do the walk around to every single thing. This is what I would love to do. However, it is not possible at the moment unless my airline actually asks me to do that. I will not do that, okay? Because A, it's not legal in most places to film on the apron, and B, all of my crew members needs to have agreed and want to be part of it and want to be seen. So there's loads and loads of stuff that makes it very hard for me to do a life in a day in the life of a pilot video. However, I would love to, and if there's a way around it where I don't have to show any of my colleagues or my airline's logo or things like that, then I will try to do it. So, loud beats. Are pilots usually straight A students with a record as clean as Vanish? Because I'm kind of a I'm kind of a chatterbox. No. So I was a straight A student, but that's just because I needed to be in order to get into the government-sponsored program in Sweden that I went through. Okay. But there are many pilots that are not straight A students, but you do need to be able to focus. Okay, you need to be able to sit down and focus because, like I said before, there's loads and loads of information that needs to be processed during schooling, but also during your job. During your career as an airline pilot, you're going to have to condense a lot of information and keep it in your head. So a little bit of study technique is needed. Jake Sharp, what do pilots do during long delays? Yeah, okay. So if I have a long delay in the aircraft, which I'm guessing you're referring to, I have a series of things that I tend to do. First of all, it's extremely important to keep the passengers informed, right? I'm sitting up there with my first officer. I'm talking to my crew, discussing what to do. I tend to make sure that the doors are open so that people feel that there's fresh air coming in and they can go up into the forward galley and the back galley and see outside. That tends to calm people down. Myself, I am constantly trying to minimize the delays to see what the reason for the delay is. I'm calculating duty times. I am talking, like I said, talking to the crew, talking to passengers, but also I tend to actually open the cockpit door and invite people up. Take people especially with kids, so that kids can come up and see the cockpit and ask their questions. Basically, I do like a live stream here, where people can ask their questions, and that takes away a little bit of the boredom and makes a long delay feel much shorter. So those are the kind of small things I do. Right, more questions. Planes review, mentor pilot. I want to be a pilot when I'm older. I wish you the best of luck. You can do anything that you put your mind to, really. Liam Banter, how do I convince my parents that becoming a pilot is a realistic goal? I want you to take, I did a video about a year ago called The Aviation Bug, What to Tell Your Parents. Look at that video, sit down with your parents and watch that video together. And I'm sure that after having seen that, I'm not sure, but I hope that your parents will warm to the idea. Alex Singh, screw it, sitting behind a desk is too boring. Flight school sounds better. Hopefully see you in the taxi lane one day. Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to meet you. Actually, you never know when we might cross each other's paths, It happens more often than you think. So, Gilo, have you ever flown to Catania? And did you use full reverse? I have flown to Catania. I can't remember if I used full reverse thrust. I think I used second detent reverse thrust, as I tend to do. We need to do that because when we have 25-minute turnarounds, if we don't do that, our brakes becomes too hot and they need longer than 25 minutes to cool down. Harrison Turner, hi mentor. I'm actually going to be starting college in a few months to study business, and then afterwards, you're disappearing here. And then afterwards, I'll be attending flight school. Do you recommend any steps that I should take? Well, if you're planning to start flight school, I would start to read up on the theory, to keep yourself motivated, but also to give you a sound foundation. So Damien, if you're doing it in the United States, Damien gave quite a few good advices on websites that you can go and find good material. So go there, download it, and start looking into it. Otherwise, just make sure that you get good grades and that you're invested in what you're doing at the moment, because you need to have that. You need to feel that you're good at what you're doing, because that's going to give you confidence going forward into flight school as well. Cherry 987654. Do airlines train new pilots like apprentices, or do you have to always pay for your own training? This is changing a bit. Up until now, it's been very much you pay for your own training, and then you start looking for a job, and if you get hired, then you might have to pay for your own type rating, and then you get in and you start working. However, this is proving to be a little bit ineffective because we're not getting as many cadets as we need. And also sometimes the cadets that we would want to have doesn't have the money to become pilots, which is also a bit of a shame. So as the pilot shortage is starting to actually rise in between some airlines now, they're looking into sponsoring more and more of the training, paying for type ratings, but even paying for bigger part like the MCC course, and maybe even further down the training. So I think we will see more and more kind of apprentices schemes coming. However, they're still fairly rare. Dylan McElhatton. Hey Dylan, good to see you here. How do you as a pilot use mental math skills? Well, I'm going to be honest and say that I don't use them much. There is a little bit of calculations needed for the energy management of things and calculating descent paths and stuff like that, but it's very, very easy arithmetics. It's not anything that you need to be a scientist kind of person or a math genius to do, because I'm flying an aircraft that does more or less all of that for me. The FMC does loads of this for me. However, in the beginning of your career, when you fly turboprops and you fly smaller propellers and stuff, you might have to do more of these calculations. And you're flying DME arcs, for example, calculating distance to a beacon, distance to descend, to be at a beacon at a specific altitude, things like that. You will need some mental math skills for. So let's see the super chat here. Emil. If you are a captain on an FX Boeing 737 and you get a type rating for for example, the 787, will you then be reduced to first officer when flying the 787, or will you be a captain? So, this is down to the airline that you are flying for. The way that it works is that in most cases, once you become a captain, and you start to have command experience, you will be interesting as a direct entry commander in some airlines. Okay, that means that you can get in as a commander in a different airline, but most of the time that is on the type that you've been commander on before. It's very rare to go in from being commander on a 737 to go in as a commander on a 777. For example, or a 787. However, there might be instances, for example, Emirates are taking direct entry commanders, where you will be going, you were going in to do your test as a direct entry captain, and if you're accepted, then you'll go into a very, very advanced training program where they will bring you in through the type rating of the 787 or the 777. Then you'll do your line training as a captain, and you will actually go in as a direct entry captain. But in other cases, you might well go from being a captain on 7.3 to becoming a first officer on the 777. But then, in most cases, when you've had previous command experience, there are some kind of fast track ways to get back into the left hand seat relatively quickly. But so see that's why I can't give you an exact answer, because it will depend on what the airline that you're applying to will allow or not. Aviation fans worldwide, thank you. Hi, Mentor Pilot. Have you had a chance to look at the group? I have started to look at it. Actually, I'll mention it here right now. So, Aviation fans worldwide is a new Facebook group that you can then have a look at. They're trying to get together as many aviation enthusiasts as possible to basically start a forum for you guys where you can discuss aviation and stuff. There's loads of these on Facebook. But I've been talking to aviation fans worldwide about this. So if you have Facebook, go in and check it out. I think they're just starting up, so they might need new members. More questions. So, Mentor, will you be able to choose what to eat as a long haul pilot, such as being a vegetarian? I believe so. I think that you can choose basically the first class meals normally when you're a long haul pilot, and that tends to be a vegetarian alternative. So I wouldn't bet my life on it, but I do believe that that's not going to be a problem. Farham Islam, is 26 too late to start training? Absolutely not. 26 is, I would say, probably a normal age to start training, so go for it if you can. Jack Toes, hi Mentor, how was Eindhoven in a stormy weather? Also, what do you think about the turboprop landing gear collapse in Amsterdam due to Doris? Yeah, Eindhoven was interesting, very interesting. We were struggling to keep the aircraft well stabilized on the ILS yesterday, because it was the runway is runway 21 for landing in Eindhoven, and the wind was 250 degrees, 25 gusting 40. So yeah, it would grow some hair on your back, definitely. It was interesting. We managed to get down in one piece, which is what we are aiming for, and we didn't have to go around. So after having been not flying for 3 months, it was challenging, but it was good. It was good practice. The landing gear collapse in Amsterdam, yeah, landing gear collapse is never a good thing. I don't know the technical details, and I never talk about incidents that are under investigations before the investigation is done. So I'm not going to say anything about that, but I do remember that the Dash 8 has had landing gear collapses before. So I know that Scandinavian Airline Systems had a series of landing gear collapses with the Dash 8 about 12 years ago now, but I think that has been rectified. So this is probably just like I said, I don't know exactly what happened there, so I'm not going to talk about it. Chris Nickel, can't the autopilot deal with the crosswind? Actually, the autopilot doesn't deal with the crosswind very well. Actually, when it gets really gusty, we tend to disconnect earlier and fly it manually, because it is just too slow with the auto throttle, and it's not very good, and it doesn't. When we land in a crosswind, we come in with a crab angle like this, and then just the last about 30 feet or so, we kick in a bit of rudder to align ourselves with the center line, and then land. The autopilot cannot do that, at least not on the 737. So the autopilot always lands. If it would land with that, it would land in a full crab, which is why we cannot land with that much crosswind. What is your favorite part of flying? I love the takeoff and landing, especially landing. It's the most challenging part. Neil, hey Neil, good to see you here. Neil is one of my best and most long-term patrons on my Patreon page. And by the way, guys, I want to remind you guys that I have a Patreon page. Okay. www.patreon.com/mentorpilot. If you go in there, take part in my crew there, in my Patreon crew, you will see all the videos way before everyone else does, and the reason for that is because I use my Patreon crew to kind of check through my videos to see that everything is okay, and it's good to send out to the rest of the public to see. And I post questions there. I use my Patreon crew for a lot of things, and of course they are providing me with financial means to make this channel better and better and better all the time. So I'm really grateful for all of my patrons that are out there, and Neil is one of them. Thank you, Neil. Emil Forsberg, let's see, we answered that one. And that is it from the super chat group. Quast Jaff, do pilots have to deal with a lot of critical situations? That depends on how you define critical situations, because we do, on almost every flight, there, there are things that are critical, as in we need to decide things. However, failure and stuff like that happens very rarely. So critical things like medical emergencies, for example, or really, really poor weather, or storms over the airport, which requires a diversion, things like that, is fairly not common, but it does happen. So I would say that, on a given week, you'll probably have one of those situations. James Miles, mentor, how was the transition from a turboprop engine aircraft to a turbojet engine aircraft? Well, actually, I went straight from a normal piston propeller to a jet aircraft, so I never went through the turboprop. I've done quite a lot of training with people who are coming from the turboprop, and the problems they tend to have is to realize how slippery the jet aircrafts are. Because with a turboprop, you'll always have the possibility to, when you put the thrust back actually and the propellers goes into pitch, they become like barn doors. It basically stops the aircraft. So there's never any problem to decelerate with a turboprop. However, with a turbojet, with a jet aircraft, it is a problem. And then when we close the thrust levels, the aircraft does not decelerate unless we do something else. So the slipperiness tends to be a big surprise for people coming off the turboprops. And also of course, the increase in general energy that comes with the weight of the aircraft. Charlie Stern, hi mentor pilot. I was just wondering what is hard to get into becoming a pilot. It's hard to get your first job. To get into a flight school tend to be less hard because they generally want you to pay money for it. But they still should do, a good flight school should do a good entry tests, suitability exams and so on, and that might be tricky. So yeah, it can be tricky. Tobio, hi mentor, I need your advice please. My mom wants me to go to university and get a PPA and a degree in aviation. However, this will take more years than going straight into aviation school. Yeah, your mom might have a point though. If you have the possibility to do so, it's always a good thing to have a degree, especially if you're going to go into trying to get a job in the United States, or basically some of the airlines in Europe as well, and the rest of the world will require you to have a university degree. So if you can, then it's not a bad thing to have a degree behind you. So I wouldn't be too mad at your mom for that. Okay, and if you're young, it's not, you have plenty of years to do your aviation training. Sam Collis, is the Airbus A319 2021 easier or harder than the 737 to fly? I don't know. I haven't flown it myself. I don't think so. I think it's probably easier in a lot of ways. The 737, especially the 800 and the 900, are famously hard to fly and hard to land. They are among the hardest or the most difficult ones to land in the entire Boeing series. So I wouldn't think that they're harder. Camilio Andres, hi mentor, quick question. Do you still use any flight simulator at home, or are those days gone? They are way gone. When I'm home, the only thing that has to do with aviation when I'm home is what I do with you guys, these live streams, and when I do the videos and stuff like that. When I'm home, otherwise I try to spend time with my family, and that's it. Craft Play Games, does SPL training cost? Yeah, it does cost. All aviation training costs. Anything that has to do with aviation costs a lot of money, guys. That is unfortunately a fact of life. Kennedy K, what makes the 738 hardest to land? It's because it is much longer than it was designed to be. The 737 was designed to be originally like the 200 and the 300 and the 600, which is shorter, much shorter. And the rudders and the ailerons, everything was kind of made to be like that. Now, obviously, they have become bigger on the 800 and 900, but it doesn't handle as well as the smaller 737 types. It's a little bit more sluggish in the controls, and also it's more prone to tail strikes because of the length. So that's why. Max, I've done my type rating on an Airbus 320, and it's super easy to fly. Good. Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what Airbus tried to achieve when they designed it. Anthony David, does the first officer ever land during severe storms? Yeah, it can. It depends on the experience of the first officer and how happy the captain is. However, I should say that if the weather is really bad and really, really windy, no matter how good the first officer is, the captain tends to want to do the landings because at the end of the day, he or she is in charge, or they are the ones who are responsible for the aircraft. So they tend to want to do it if it's tricky. And if they do, that doesn't reflect anything badly on the first officer's skills. Swedish Potato, what do pilots work as after their retirement, and what's the retirement age? It's 65, so we tend just to chill out after we stop flying. Okay, guys, I've been doing this for 50 minutes now, and as you can see, my throat is getting a little bit sore, so I might not continue with this for very much longer. But I'll take a few more questions, and I'll just make sure that I've answered all of the guys on the super chat. Yeah, so there seems to be no more questions on the super chat, so we'll go back here and take a few more. Max92, how to integrate Ryanair after flight school? If you mean how to apply and to get in, it's just as easy as you go into the Ryanair website, you look up recruitment, and you click that, and you see exactly what you need, and you make sure that you have dotted and ticked all of those boxes, that you have everything that is needed. You send in the application, and then you wait to be called for an interview. There's nothing, you can't do either more or less than that. Anir Bansoon, is it possible for you to switch to a 777 or a wide-body plane soon? I mean, can you still be a pilot? Would start off with a co-pilot. Yeah, like I said, I could apply for a 777 position or a 787 position in some airline that needs pilots and needs direct entry captains. And if I'm successful in the selection, then I would do that. But that's only if I'm interested, and at the moment I am not, because I'm very, very happy where I am. Though, let's see, there was one more here that I saw that was interesting. Super chat, yeah. Super chat is a new feature that I've just noticed that YouTube has. It's a feature where you, during a live stream, you can go in and you can pay an amount. I don't know what it is even. And when you do, your question will be highlighted, and I will see your question apart from the chat. So if you use the super chat, you are more or less guaranteed that you get your answer or get your questions looked at anyway. That's a super chat, as far as I'm aware. Loudbeats, would you ever consider British Airways or Air France as they're really good reps? Actually, when I was a really young first officer, I did apply to British Airways, but I didn't get in. I basically non-British from any of the groups got in. We don't really know why, but they did call me back for a second time, but then I wasn't interested anymore because I was very happy where I was. Andreas Borg, jag har typ 1 diabetes. I'm gonna switch over to Swedish for this. Jag tror att lagarna kommer ändras i mitt liv så att jag kan flyga. Och om inte, vilka andra flygrelaterade jobb kan du rekommendera? Alright, so this is a question regarding if you have diabetes type 1 already from the start. At the moment, you cannot get your class 1 medical. I think that you might, depending on it, you might be able to get a class 2 medical, but I will not swear on this. You can check with your AME. In that case, at least you can fly. Other flight-related jobs that you can do in connection with that, I'm not sure about air traffic control. I do think that they might have medical requirements as well. But apart from that, anything that has to do with engineering and like actually building the aircraft and maintaining them, maintenance and so on, you can definitely do. But I'm not completely sure about ATC, which would probably be the coolest thing. Miguel Ersolans. Yeah, no, the super chat is actually a different chat. It's this chat is the general chat that anyone can get into, and I'm like you see, I'm answering all the questions that I can. But since there's like 135 people asking questions, I won't be able to see everyone. And super chat is a way for you to kind of stand out through the noise and get your question answered. And that's it, guys. Does anyone have any more questions? And otherwise, I think I'm going to round this off. TK, that's a good question actually. Would your aircraft be released with defects often? When it comes to defects in aircraft, it's very, very strict rules. Okay, so whenever we have a defect, we put it into the tech log, and we cannot dispatch the aircraft with anything in the tech log that has not been reviewed by an engineer. Even if it's just a scratch in the window or a missing bulb, if we put it into the tech log, it needs to be reviewed by an engineer. Okay, every time. Now, some minor malfunctions that, for example, are part of a redundant system. So, for example, one of the packs, the air conditioning packs, might be inoperative, providing that they're fixed within a certain amount of cycles and that it's put into the tech log and it's properly secured, and we've done a couple of things. So you can dispatch with certain defects after engineering have allowed you to do so, and the MEL, the minimum equipment list that every aircraft has, allows you to do so. So it's not like you can say, wow, yeah, it's just a small thing, let's go. No, it has to be properly checked because every system is interconnected with different other systems, and we don't really know if, one system might have a detrimental effect on something else and stuff like that without an engineer looking into it. So that's the case. In a good airline, that would happen. Pilots always put all of the defects in, engineering checks it, and if there's any kind of a doubt, there's no doubt. They need to send out an engineer and they have to fix the problem with spares. So, do all pilots or in all airlines take ditching training? I believe that that's becoming standard. Yes, it's not specific ditching training. It's resilience training. It's called, where we get put into situations which are non-assessed but are catastrophic, and we need to deal with it as best as we can, and then we discuss it with our instructor. So we basically get prepared. We get to try to prepare for the unpreparable, like dual engine failures, like ditching, like fires, like dense smoke in the cabin, things like that. Horrible things that we hope never will happen, and that doesn't really have checklists for it. Bombs on board, things like that. We train it in order to kind of give us some exposure to it, but it's non-assessed and it's only there for the benefit of the crews. FAS 4. What age did you finish school? I finished my flight school when I was 18. Then I did my military service for 1 year when I was 19. And then I finished the last part of my training when I was 20. And then I started flying. Right, guys, so I'm coming up to an hour now, which is some kind of a record for this channel, at least when it comes to live streams. I really hope that you've enjoyed it. I always enjoyed having these live streams with you guys. It's fantastic the way that you guys interact. And like I said, my app, it's out for Android already. You can go in and you can chat and you can get videos and all of that good stuff. There are some improvements on the way as well. I've gotten some really good feedback from the beta users. We're fixing some of the stuff, but Android is available, so if you want it, check it out. And iOS, as soon as Apple gets their thumbs out and actually approves the application, it will be out, and you will know so because I am going to go out. I'm going to do a live stream and explain everything to you. I am going to release loads of videos that are related to the application, and I think that you are going to love those videos. And I'm also going to put it out on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and whatever. And make sure that you guys go in and follow me on Facebook, for example, if you're not already. But for now, I hope you're all having a fantastic evening. I hope and I wish you all a nice weekend. And I will see you next time. Thank you very much for a lovely live stream, guys. Bye-bye.